o'clock. I'd like to welcome you to the Environment and Community Committee meeting of Toowoomba Regional Council today for February 2025. Colleagues, my counting to 6, including myself, is accurate, and therefore we have a quorum. And we'll continue. This meeting is open to the public and will also be live streamed. Can I thank those who are in the room today in the gallery and acknowledge those watching via Council's social media channels. Good morning on the World Wide Web, should you be tuning in. Can I open the meeting and acknowledge the Western Waka Waka, Gayabal, Jarrawa and Bigabal peoples of the Toowoomba region. Pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging, for they hold the knowledge, rich traditions and bold ambitions of Australia's First Nations people. Colleagues, I'll move to attendance, noting that we have some perhaps interesting circumstances today. Mayor McDonald is attending with us via Teams. Can I have confirmation that he is online? Mayor McDonald, if you're there, good morning.
Good morning, Chair. Morning. Welcome. Happy to be here.
Thank you, Mayor. Great to hear from you. I do note that we have apologies. A leave of absence has been granted to Councillor Vonhoff for today. A leave of absence has been declared for Councillor O'Shea, so we don't need any motions for those two leaves of absence. But I do have an apology this morning from Councillor Carol Taylor, and I will need a motion that the apology for non-attendance from Councillor Carol Taylor be accepted. Can I have Councillor Kerry Shine move that, seconded by Councillor Edwina Farquhar? All those in favour? Passed without dissent. Furthermore, colleagues, I do have an apology for this meeting from Councillor Melissa Taylor, and I do have a resolution required that the apology for non-attendance from Councillor Melissa Taylor be accepted. Do I have a mover from the floor, please? Moved by Councillor Gardner, seconded by Councillor Carl. All those in favour? Passed without dissent. So that's everyone covered in our attendance. As far as conflicts of interest for today, colleagues, I haven't been advised of any. Noting if there are any that come up during today's committee meeting, you can declare them at the time of the particular item. But moving on then to item number 3, the Toowoomba Carnival of Flowers 2024 event report. And I'll hand over to Paul to brief this one. And I did forget to acknowledge, Paul, your team, acting CEO, of course, our council business staff, several other GMs in the room and many council staff. Good morning. Paul, over to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair, and good morning, councillors. This report this morning specifically relates to the 2024 Toowoomba Carnival of Flowers program of events. As you would have seen when you read through the report, there is certainly a lot to be proud of in terms of our achievements and acknowledging the hard work and dedication of many individuals, organisations and the broader community. This program of events would not be possible without the countless volunteers that contribute to the delivery of this national award-winning and Hall of Fame event. The 75th Carnival of Flowers in 2024 encapsulated the theme "It's a Party," with some significant once-in-a-lifetime experiences. The passion, commitment and devotion of many hundreds of people is the envy of many communities throughout Australia and something that we should all be extremely proud of. From an organisational perspective, I'm very proud of the achievements of our teams right across the organisation to once again deliver an outstanding program of memorable experiences for both visitors and residents alike. With that, I'll hand over to Kate to talk to the report more specifically.
Good morning, councillors. On behalf of the Tourism Events team, we're delighted to present to the community through this meeting the outcomes of the 75th Toowoomba Carnival of Flowers. 2024 saw a record year being achieved through 82 events and activations were delivered over the 25-day program. Key success indicators included a positive Net Promoter Score of 66, direct and incremental spending at $29.4 million, which is up 19% on previous years, which is a significant rise. Visitor nights also increased by 9% with 49,538 nights. That's a lot of pillows and breakfast, so well done to everyone involved in that. And the program focused in on 4 floral-filled weekends, and that generated an overall attendance of 470,608, up an impressive 12% on the previous year. There's some really big numbers in the report, and the year-on-year growth shows the power of the flower and the continued ability this event has to deliver for the region. We'd like to, as Paul said, really acknowledge all of the council staff that go the extra mile to be able to deliver all of the services that make up Toowoomba Carnival of Flowers. Their attention to detail, sheer determination to get the job done, energy and the joy that they bring to their roles are admired by many. Carnival would also not be what it is without the 150 dedicated volunteers that assist Council to deliver their lead innovations. In addition to that, the community has over 2,000 volunteers that assist, whether they be community groups or businesses, to deliver support events and activations that make up Toowoomba Carnival of Flowers. The milestone 75th birthday of Toowoomba Carnival of Flowers was celebrated in a number of ways. Key memorable moments included the 75th Grand Central Floral Parade filling the streets of the CBD, sell-out foodie experiences, homegrown musical talents on delight and display in the parks, and of course local vendors across the region showcasing culinary delights. Of course, the event's feature foil display at the Gardens by the Bay in Singapore was an absolute highlight that shone us internationally light. And the event and the region did really well out of this. We've got some early indications that we have got success out of this already, but the work is only just starting for what this platform gives us going forward and as a gateway into the rest of the world. We're well known by Southeast Asia. We need to use that as a gateway going forward to be able to allow us to have a wider global visitation. We've got beautiful natural beauty and we've got abundance in food. We need to share that worldwide. The Carnival delivered on its mission of injecting impact into the region economically, and the region provided a strong tourism opportunity for visitors to enjoy. Thank you for your support from this room. Any questions from the report?
Thank you, Kate. Appreciate your report and congratulations on a record year. Colleagues, questions or comments from the floor? Councillor Trevor.
Thank you for the report. Well done, and well done for a 75th Carnival. We look forward to the 76th Carnival. Hope it can be matched. Obviously, the elephant in the room is the Food and Wine Festival. Have we got any breakdowns of figures, dollars, over the last few years, the trajectories it's been having, profit and loss type of things?
The event has been generating a loss for council, and those losses have varied over the years. Obviously, last year it cost council $91,000. We see that as an investment in the tourism industry. That's a campaign we're putting out nationally to drive visitation here as a ticketed event. The event has not picked up since COVID, so it has lost traction in attendance and also the viability of the event overall, with a number of supply costs overreaching the income that we can generate from that event.
Thank you. Obviously, there's a trend Australia-wide with sort of things like that. We see that within Queensland, out west, down south, where some events are being cancelled because of overheads and return, lower people taking up tickets and all that type of stuff. Obviously, we're on a new plan trajectory to try and alleviate that, get it more local, so wish you luck with that. And I guess we'll hear more about that in the coming weeks, is that right?
That's correct. We're in the process of finalising the strategic plan going forward. We've just finished our 5-year plan. So we're in the process of getting that finalised at the moment. We're also in the process of 7 procurement tenders. So we need to finalise those so we can sort of nail in those last bits to go forward. But we can put it out publicly that we will always have a food event in the park that's ticketed. Food is something that we celebrate. It's up there with our flowers. The abundance of food that we've got in our region needs to be celebrated, and we recognise that as a really key point.
Awesome, thank you. And overall, it was a huge success.
Oh, Toowoomba Carnival Flowers this year knocked it out of the park for us. It was a really huge event. Attendance, overnight stay. So the economic impact of this event was record-breaking this year.
Okay, cool. So that sets a target for this year.
Exactly.
Very good. Thank you.
Up and up. Thank you, Councillor Trevor. Any more questions from the floor? Councillor Shine.
Thank you. I certainly join with Councillor Trevor in congratulating you, Kate, and your team for an outstanding result. It must be very difficult to break the record every year, you know. And well, I think you should patent your skill set there. It would be very valuable for other areas in the country as well. I think I have asked you in the past in relation to the contribution from various sectors of the community towards promotion and sponsorship for the carnival. And one section that I am unaware of whether or not it does contribute towards it is the accommodation section, the motels, hotels, etc. So my question really is, do they contribute financially towards the running of the any aspect of the carnival? What difficulties that might have in not doing so, if that's the case, and I don't know whether they have a hoteliers association or body of that nature that we could negotiate with, but it would be a step in the right direction, because it appears to me, as a layperson, and looking at the figures that you've given us, that of all the industries in Toowoomba that benefit from a carnival of flowers, the accommodation industry is one that stands out prominently.
To talk to some of the points that you've made there, Councillor, through you, Chair. The bed nights for this event is amazing, and we should be very proud of that. We should also be very proud of our residents who invite all their families and friends to come and stay in their spare rooms. That is a huge aspect of the event, and I'd like to acknowledge that visiting friends and relatives is a huge market for us, and it's the biggest market we have for this event. So that is a big part. The accommodation providers in town work on very small margins. Their first night, they don't make a profit. The second night, they might cover costs. And then, after that third night, they were in the profit range. So the margins around that serviceability is quite tight. We're very thankful. We've got some amazing operators that do support the event. We have a lot of media come to town. They will provide free rooms for that media to lessen the cost to council and promotion. We also do packaging with a number of the bigger providers that have ability to do group rates for people. So we do have very strong relationships with the accommodation providers in town, and they do absolutely everything they can.
If I just follow up, no, thank you for that. I was unaware of that level of assistance that's given, and it's reassuring. To say that the carnival is the major event that Toowoomba is known for would be an understatement, and I think it's imperative on this council to continue to support not just the carnival but the Garden City image of Toowoomba and its region, and to concentrate on that. There are temptations that we face here in council to concentrate on other areas as well, but I think there's in my view anyway, it's better for a region like Toowoomba to concentrate on one thing, do it well, and it's been nationally recognised time and time again as being the best in Australia. Why would you want to dissipate your efforts by extending into other areas? So that's my personal view in relation to that. The food and wine issue that's been brought up, fully understand the difficulties that have been indicated in the report, and whilst people in my age group probably are not going to miss out too much on that event, for younger people it was something that many look forward to, but we've got to be realistic, and as I understood it from what I've been told recently, that it costs an arm and a leg to put it on, and to make a profit out of it is nearly impossible. In reality, we've got to look at things sensibly, and I think what you will be proposing as an alternative, which hopefully will be far more acceptable and therefore profitable in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Shine, for the comments. Any questions from the floor, colleagues? Councillor Trevor.
Just going on, I know we're discussing the report for 24. 25, trying to include the regions, all our towns and villages out there. Are there any plans, or is this not the forum to discuss that yet?
We've been able to put some sneak peeks into this report that we are looking at diversifying across the 4 weekends. So not only treats will be offered this year, which has got some regional aspects that we want to encourage. We've also got some other event formats across food events that we can really highlight, and we've already got really strong traction from some regional areas to provide some opportunities, and that's partnerships with other organisations and also other events to bolster what we already have in the region. It's not about Carnival coming in and showcasing as something else. It's actually using Carnival to be able to promote the strengths of each of our individual regions.
Thank you. That's great to hear.
Thank you, Councillor Trevor. I do have a question from Mayor McDonald online via Teams. Good morning, Mayor McDonald.
Good morning. Thank you very much, Chair. Very much appreciated. Just a comment and a question, if you don't mind, Chair. First of all, a comment just to say that the last couple of weeks in regard to media in regard to one particular element of the Carnival of Flowers has probably emphasised what has been mentioned by Kate, and certainly I acknowledge Wendy as well in the room as the first year in her role in the Carnival of Flowers, but it certainly has amplified the fact that our region understands and supports the Carnival of Flowers as an event, signature event that attracts people to our region, and also something that our locals embrace and love. I think that point is something I'd like to make more broadly about the Carnival of Flowers, and the numbers have certainly supported that love and passion for the Carnival of Flowers that our locals have demonstrated the last couple of weeks in regard to one element, which is the Food and Wine Festival in Queen's Park. Noting the comments from Councillor Trevor and Councillor Kerry, I'd like to, if I could, Chair, through you to Kate and potentially Wendy, in regard to the strategic outlook of the Carnival of Flowers and what the future may hold. What is the time frame for councillors to have discussions and perhaps look at what that may see in the future, what it brings, and keeping in mind of the very reasons why the Carnival of Flowers exists, which is demonstrated by the numbers from last year's event, but also from what Kate has said this morning in regard to the economic impact, but more broadly the strategic outlook and focus of what the Carnival of Flowers may look like in the next few years under a strategic discussion the councils may have. Just a time frame in regard to that would be helpful, Chair, if I could.
Thanks.
The timeframes we've got around that, Mayor, the next 6 weeks are quite pivotal in trying to get the procurement locked in. Once we've got that procurement aspects locked in, we'll actually be able to bring a report to council of the strategic plan that we'll have for the next 5 years. That's obviously in draft format at the moment. That needs to be reviewed once we've got all of our suppliers in place and the talents and services that they can bring to the event. For community awareness also, we have already done an informal council information session on the draft purpose and the vision, and those things will always stay strong, that we want to celebrate our natural beauty, we want to celebrate our culture, our culture, our community spirit, and we want to look at how we can showcase this region in the very best light it can every single spring. So those foundations are not going to be changing.
Thank you, and thank you, Chair. Very pleased to hear that. So the next month or so, there'll be more information come through. It does give us an opportunity, and each year, as as we do as a council, we obviously take information from each event and try to improve on the next one, and that's no different to the Toowoomba Carnival of Flowers, and celebrating the very good points that councillors have mentioned in regard to the garden region, our whole region, and the impact that has both economically and socially, and importantly, what adds to the feel and vibe of our region. I think that's personally that's critically important. So, Chair, I'm happy to move this motion when the time comes, and in doing so, congratulate Kate, Wendy, all of the team, and as Kate mentioned, the many hundreds of people, individuals, and many organisations that have gone to make this another record event and a great celebration for our region.
Thanks, Mayor, and thank you for your input, noting your intention to move the officer's recommendation at the appropriate time. I do have a few more questions from the floor. Before that, Councillor Edwina.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, team, for the fabulous job that you've done, Kate and Wendy. It's exceptional for our community, our economy, and our local businesses. So I thank you. And I note that Councillor Trevor has also mentioned this is just about the 2024 Flowers and our event, but something that's also been in the media recently is the Chronicle Garden Competition. And I know that's not run by us, it's the Chronicles event, but the community attaches it to us and to council and believes that it is a council event. So knowing that it's not our event, last year there was a bit of backlash from the gardeners due to the dates that it fell upon and the way that it was run in certain areas. And I read this week that the Toowoomba Hospital Foundation will be taking over the event with the Chronicle. Do we have the dates yet? Do you know of when that will occur, or that's still to come?
That's still being developed, but I believe it will be very similar to the past. Generally, the gardens have all opened on the Friday before parade, so if history repeats itself, it'll be the 19th of September that the gardens will open. But the announcement of the ownership transfers only just happened this week. We have been meeting with the Hospital Foundation team, and they will be bringing a sponsorship request to council, they've advised, so that will be coming through shortly, we suspect. So we'll have more information when we receive that.
Okay, thank you, Kate. And yeah, just comforted to hear that there will still be a ticketed food and wine event in the gardens, and just that the format of the event is changing. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Edwina. Are there any more questions from the floor, colleagues? Third one, Councillor Trevor, the floor is yours.
Sorry for hogging it, so don't be sorry. Page 32 of the report, it gives an overview of what's happening next year. So important dates for anybody listening or in the room. 12th of February to the 6th of October, every weekend is covered by different events. And also the full program for the carnival events will be released on the 28th of April. I did have a message through from a music person in our area to say keep music as a central theme with the park area, and I think that's the vision of the revamp of what was Food and Wine, but obviously may have a different name tag to it now. But music, as you mentioned, food is such an integral part of Toowoomba and region. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Trevor. I'll take that as a comment. Councillor Shine.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Chair, I just wanted to acknowledge the role played by first of all, the Mayor in promotion of the Carnival this year, and it was his first year, I think, as Mayor for Carnival, or second. Anyway, the previous year was very good too, but this was even better. But I also want to congratulate Councillor James and yourself, Councillor Tim, whose responsibility the Carnival comes under, for your enthusiasm and input and dedication and the time that you contribute yourselves. I'm sure the staff appreciate that as well. And from my observation, you all have gone well and truly beyond what would be normally expected.
Thanks, Councillor Carey, for those kind words, and certainly to Councillor James in his absence and the Mayor online. Can I just ask one question? Kate, we've talked about the target of the Southeast Asian market in your opening remarks and noting the very successful delegation to Gardens by the Bay this year. Just wondering about targeting of that market of Southeast Asia. It's such a large market moving forward, and noting Anthony from Economic Development is in the room as a cross-council approach. Is there any plans in the pipeline around that?
Every year we have an international marketing campaign that we put out, and which is supported by Tourism Events Queensland, and we take every opportunity that we can to bolster and align ourselves with Tourism Australian campaigns as well. We've got a developed market into New Zealand. They know us and they're very comfortable with us. We've got the Southeast Asian markets. Not only is it the gateway for Europe into our region, but it also they love self-drives, they love food, they want to explore. So we are on the doorstep of international airports that are only 90 minutes away, which is an amazing accessibility for us. We've got a lot of opportunity in Asia with a lot of growth in that market that has traditionally not toured and travelled independently. There's a lot of wealth coming into those nations that they are now exploring the world in a way they haven't done before. They want to have unique experiences that they can go home. It's not a postcard that everyone else has. They want to explore locations for themselves. We are a new product. If we look at it from that lens, we haven't been discovered by Southeast Asia yet. Everyone goes to the Gold Coast and the Reef, Uluru and Sydney, and Melbourne for the shopping. We have the unique proposition that we can provide everyone with the bush/outback experience, all within 2 hours of Brisbane. We can have those authentic sunsets and sunrises. We can have big blue sky moments. We can get dust on the shoes, but we can also have a la carte dining at the finest restaurants with the best customer service you can expect with our country hospitality. And we do a really good coffee. The days of coming into country towns and not being able to get a coffee are over, and that's what the visitor expects, and we have all that on board. So we are ticking all the boxes, and the work that we've already done in Asia. We were over there last year in Singapore. We were again twice in Singapore this year. There's some more markets coming into Hong Kong next year and opportunities for us. We tick all those boxes, and they are very interested in us, and we've got some great relationships happening. We've already got tours happening for self-drives to come here and they can buy that. That's already in market. You can go on to different operators in those markets and look up Toowoomba, and you will find an itinerary that you can buy today. So that's huge work that we've already been able to achieve, and we just need to build on that.
Great answer. Exciting times ahead. Thank you for that response. Well, colleagues, just say before I put the motion, nothing but praise for you and your team, Kate, Wendy, Paul, on every year, without doubt, delivering Australia's best event. And, it's an onerous task to do it year in, year out, but you hit it out of the park every year, and onwards and upwards continually to 2025 Carnival of Flowers, and I look forward to another amazing, busy, if you're in our shoes, but absolutely justified, expensive time, Carnival of Flowers. With that, we have a motion, colleagues, that Council note the 2024 Toowoomba Carnival of Flowers event report and attachment 1. I have this moved by the Mayor. Can I have a seconder of the motion, please? Councillor Trevor. Colleagues, is there any reason to go into debate? With that, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? The motion is passed without dissent. Thank you very much. With that, colleagues, we'll move on to item 4, which is the conclusion of the meeting, wrapping up the Environment and Community Committee meetings for February 2024. Take a 2-minute recess and continue on. Please remember to leave the meeting, and thank you for all your attendance. Thank you.
Welcome everyone. We'll start the corporate. Welcome to the Corporate Services Committee meeting of Toowoomba Regional Council. This meeting is open to the public and will also be live streamed. I would like to thank those of you who are in the room with us today and acknowledge everyone watching via Council's social media channels. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owner. I acknowledge the Aboriginal parties whose strong lines traverse these lands we meet on today, the Western Waka Waka, and Gulba and the Jawa peoples, and pay respects to the elders past, present, and emerging, for they hold the knowledge, rich traditions and bold ambitions of Australia's first peoples. Apologies and leave of absence. There's apology for a motion that apology for non-attendance for Councillor Carol Taylor be accepted. I ask for Kerry, a seconder, Bill. Thank you. I note late attendance by Melissa Taylor, who will be here shortly. Apology. I ask for a vote for apology for Councillor Carroll. All right, Kerry and Bill, thank you. And I note leave of absence from Councillor Vonhoff and Councillor O'Shea. And I ask if there's any declaration of prescribed conflicts of interest. No. All right, I'll hand over to David Quinn for Operational Plan Progress Report year to date.
Thank you, Mr Chair. This agenda item relates obviously to the Operational Plan Progress Report. It's the second quarterly report for the financial year and details progress against the Operational Plan to 31st of December 24. As everyone would know, it's a statutory requirement. The Council has a 5-year corporate plan and create annual operational plans for each fiscal year and report against those annual operational plans at least quarterly. Now, the operational plan does represent a range of stretch targets. They're composed of services, specific actions and projects, as well as KPIs. To that extent, I'd like to take a moment just to point out how this works. If we were to go to page 24, if I could ask of the attachment, you'll see at the bottom of that page, if we could bring it up on screen. Attachment 1, sorry, page 24. It deals with the KPI in relation to pursuing grant applications. As you can see there, we have set an annual target of 80%. 56 applications have been lodged, 24 awarded and 11 rejected. So therefore our percentage of successful applications is measured as 24 over the 35 that have been considered. That's 24 plus 11. That comes out at 68, I think, 0.57, so rounded to 69%. Now, as you can see, the status of that is off track. Because it's below the annual target and obviously the tolerance. But when we consider that, 69% have been successful, that is 2 out of 3 grant applications, or better than 2 out of 3 being successful. I think it's important in context then when we set annual targets, consider them over time, that just because something has a red cross, a yellow exclamation mark or a green tick is not necessarily the full picture. I would suggest we're doing very well in that space. Certainly in some areas we've set very high annual targets and this is a good case in point with grant applications. If we set a target that was, say, at 100%, would that encourage people only to lodge grant applications for those that are a known winner instead of using resources efficiently to get a ticket in the hat where we can? Also, we're not in control of the funding bodies that may make a response to this, nor are we aware of what all our competitors for those grant monies might lodge. So I would argue that better than 2 out of 3 is quite exceptional, an exceptional performance, even though it has got a red cross. So it's important to, I think, consider those in the broader context.
Councillor Bill.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Through you to David. David, that's a net amount, so regardless of the number of applications, it's an 80% target of the applications we lodge. The reason why I ask is it's not necessarily good practice to apply for grants, particularly if they're not in relation to our capital works program or our operational works plan. They could be a red herring, in fact, or a distractor from where we need our focus at times.
Through you, Chair, I'd in responding to Councillor Bill, you're exactly right. I think the organisation has moved to a point where we're pursuing grants that are consistent with the works programs that we anticipate over the longer term, and I think that's a very important point. Obviously, we don't do more of things that are on special and believe we're saving money, do we? So it is important to establish a firm works program that's consistent with our priorities, and then I do think grants that support that are key to financial sustainability, certainly, but to be diverted from what our priorities are by the availability of grants, of course, works against long-term financial sustainability in certain circumstances. You're absolutely correct.
Councillor Shine.
Yeah, no, thanks. Just on that KPI that you're referring to, David, is it the case that, looking at the figures there, 24 were awarded and 21 undecided? Is it the sum of those two that make up the 69%?
Through you, Chair, certainly, Councillor, we would consider to determine the percentage. We are looking at those ones which have been decided. Obviously, the ones that are undecided are still in play, so we wouldn't measure that as a percentage. So that percentage is determined by dividing the 24 over 35, which is the sum of the 24 awarded and the 11 rejected.
Thank you.
Moving on then, there is a recommendation which is for Council to note the report and also approve the change that's recommended in attachment 2. That change relates to a waste strategy issue, which we might wait until the GM talks to that. Mr. Chair, traditionally we ask for questions now, and general managers have the opportunity to speak to their area.
Councillor Weiner.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, David and GM Anne-Marie, for your hard work on this, and the teams behind, all the council teams that are working on our ops plan. Just moving to page 28 of 32 on resolve. Property acquisitions and leasing. And this is probably for Paul. Continue to provide existing services at or near existing levels within adopted budget. And then just note the 28 of resolve, so it's actually 27 of the document. Yep. So third one down. I just note the comment, lease renewals and inspections currently tracking behind existing service levels, with current resourcing reduced to align with budget requirements. Priority is currently being given to managing commercial lease arrangements. Opportunity to improve property management through a software currently being investigated in consultation with ICT. And I just note, I am aware of a few lease renewals being behind. Where are we at with the software and I don't know whether that's actually for GM and Marie. It says here that you're investigating in consultation with, or Paul. If you could just give an update on where that's at, please. Just how it will help speed up leases.
And GM Paul to speak.
Good morning again, councillors. Thank you for the question. I will have to unfortunately take that on notice in terms of specifically where we're up to in discussions with ICT around that more integrated solution. Essentially, what we'd be wanting to achieve in relation to an integrated solution is better visibility around lease renewals, conditions, compliance, invoicing, etc. So they'd be the main focus areas, but in terms of where conversations are at between property services and ICT, I'll have to take that on notice.
Thank you, Paul, and apologies for not giving you notice on that question. And yeah, if we can do anything to improve the process and speed it up for the community and our leaseholders out there, that's great to hear. Thank you.
Is there any more questions? If not, I'll motion that Council note the organisation performance as outlined in the 24-25 operational plan, progress report year to date, second quarter, attachment 1, and adopt the recommended change to the 24-25 operational plan as outlined in the request for change, attachment 2. Do I have a mover for the motion? Do I have a seconder? Kerry, thank you. With no further comments, we will now vote on the motion. All those in favour? Anonymous? All those against, raise your hands. No one? The motion is carried. Yeah. I'll hand over to Anne-Marie for the controlled entities quarterly reports. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair, Councillors. I welcome Anita Corfield, who's our from the corporate accounting team responsible for looking after our controlled entities, to provide you with a summary of the quarterly update, and we'll be happy to take any questions.
Good morning, councillors. The following report provides an update of Council's controlled entities' financial reports for the quarter ended 31 December 2024. Council's controlled entities include Toowoomba and Surat Basin Enterprise Pty Ltd, Empire Theatres Pty Ltd, and Empire Theatre Foundation as trustee for the Empire Theatre Foundation. An overview of each of the entities' financial results for the quarter is as follows. Toowoomba and Surat Basin Enterprise, the net result for the quarter is a surplus of $68,000 compared to a year-to-date budget deficit of $33,000. The whole year budget projection for 24-25 is for a deficit position of $323,000. Membership income at this point in time is below budget. The entity is aware and is expecting income to come back in line with budget over the next quarter. Empire Theatre Foundation. The net result for the quarter is a deficit of $285,000 compared to a budgeted year-to-date deficit of $15,000. The whole year budget projection for 24-25 is a surplus position of $21,000. Employee expenditure is above budget, $52,000, due to additional resourcing required to carry out program events with a higher utilisation of staff than planned. Material services and other expenditure is above budget, $539,000, due to unplanned professional service fees and a change in accounting treatment of merchant fees. The final 24-25 year-end position is continuing to be monitored by the entity to identify opportunities to produce a positive financial result. An updated 30 June 2025 forecast has been requested from the entity. Empire Theatre Foundation, the net result for the quarter is a surplus of $20,000 compared to a budgeted year-to-date surplus of $1,000. The whole year budget projection for 24-25 is a surplus of $1,000. Income is a below budget due to non-renewal of one sponsorship agreement. The new sponsorship agreements have been recommenced from January 2025. Is there any questions on any of the reports presented this morning?
Bill, Councillor Bill.
Just a general one through you, Chair, to Anne-Marie. That commentary is really beneficial in my view as an overview, and particularly could we see that in the body of the officer's report? I think it rather than trolling, and I mean I don't mind trolling through the separate reports as a councillor, but in the interest of the public, that commentary, just the way you put that, was excellent, and it's very transparent for the members of the public to be able to scan a report of council at their leisure. So is that possible, Anne-Marie?
Yes, so most definitely that's possible. So what we'll do is do that slight amendment ahead of the ordinary meeting next week and just put that notation in. And also, so I know Anita's got her notes and she went through those notes with me earlier. So what we'll do is shoot you through a copy of those notes so that you've got them, but also put that notation. And I know that's something the finance team are doing with the various reports that go directly to the ordinary meeting, is just including that narrative. So we're not just presenting a report, we're actually giving you, a few comments around that report for clarity and understanding.
No, thank you. That was really good. Thanks.
Have any other questions? Councillor Trevor.
Just with the Empire, just with the quarterly performance activity, with events and attendance, are they up, down, static compared to other years?
So there is some slight movement. We are actually working on doing a change to the financial report that we provide each quarter to be able to provide more transparent tracking in terms of how they are year on year. I can get more details to you on exactly how they've performed compared to other quarters, but that is an improvement we're looking to put in the next quarter's report.
That would be good to see, just with a graph or something like that, whether we're up, down, static, whatever. Thank you.
Have any other questions? No? Well, we will consider the motion proposed by the quarterly motion that council note the quarterly report as of the 31st of December 24 for its controlled entities. Toowoomba and Surat Basin Enterprise Pty Limited, Empire Theatres Pty Limited, Empire Theatres Foundation Limited as trustee for the Empire Theatres Foundation. Do I have a mover for the motion? Councillor Bill, mover. Do I have a seconder for the motion? Councillor Carey. Do we need to go in debate? No. If there are no further comments, when motion is passed. Vote for, yeah, okay. It's, those against? No, it's anonymous. Well, asset revaluation. I'll hand over to Anne-Marie now for asset revaluation.
Good morning again, councillors. So the purpose of this report is to provide you with an overview of the property, plant and equipment comprehensive revaluation which took place during the 24-25 financial year. Happy to hand over to Mary Lou to take you through the findings and answer any questions.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. The 24-25 revaluation has resulted in an increase of $6.27 million in annual depreciation on the water and wastewater infrastructure assets. Continual data improvements by the asset custodians has impacted the changes in water and wastewater infrastructure gross costs. These data improvements ensured more accurate and reliable assessments of Council's water and wastewater infrastructure assets. For example, the previous revaluation contained initial estimates of the Crestbrook Safety Dam Improvement Project. However, the project team were able to provide current costings which allowed the valuers to assess the current replacement cost of all Council's related dam infrastructure. I believe the valuers even enjoyed a boat ride to the middle of the dams with the project team whilst conducting the site inspections. It is worth noting that around 0.02% of around 80,000 assets were considered found. This is an excellent result for the operational area. I will now take the report as read and happy for any questions.
Councillor Bill.
Yeah, just another broad one. It may be towards for Jake, Chair. Jake, in your opinion, or whoever, I note that the assets were rated as sound in the report, but where are we on the bell curve of life cycle of the majority of our, or the major infrastructure? Because the reason why I'm asking is because that may have some immediate short-term or longer-term impacts depending on that life cycle of critical infrastructure around water and waste. I know it's a broad, but if we've seen an increase to 6 point something, yes, million, over in excess of 6 million. What does that look like in the future moving forward? Where are we on that life cycle, the bell curve?
Thank you, Councillor. And what I can say is that this process does look to try and correct the curve as such. So we don't sort of operate our assets on a bell curve. What we look to do is overall look at the amount of consumption that our assets have in fact undertaken, and you notice as part of that re-prosecution of what's called fair value. So that's the value of our assets as they currently stand now versus and our percentage against our gross value, which is the gross value of all of our assets. And so we're sitting at about 64.4% in comparison to those two components. What that means is that we're there's always opportunities to improve, but that very heavily links to service levels. So obviously the more we spend in replacing assets, or the sooner we replace assets, means that our service levels will improve. But do we see a market overall improvement in the customer's end use? And so, as I said, we don't sit on a bell curve. What we do is we use this process to re-benchmark ourselves to make sure that we're recovering enough money against the existing asset base that we have, to ensure that we can replace the assets that we have as and when they become due in respect to their life cycle. So our valuers, when they go out to sample, they sample a few things. They look at our asset and whether it's on the register. So one, when they talk about the amount that was found. Two, they look at that condition of the asset against the condition that we have on the register. They also look at the value of that asset versus what the value of it would be replaced against our asset, and then re-benchmark that against what they know. And then we apply that over our whole asset register, which then has the effect on depreciation.
Thanks for the accountant's answer. But the facts are in this country, and the reason why I ask, the facts are we all, if we haven't heard, we probably should have heard by a term called the infrastructure cliff that faces local government and other sectors in general. That's the context in which I'm asking, because, as long as we're confident that we're putting away enough money to replace assets at the end of their useful life. That's the nub of my question. And we know nationally that there's an infrastructure cliff facing lots of sectors. And we just happen to be the owner of most of that infrastructure, unfortunately, local government.
What I can say, Councillor, in response to that is this valuation process allows us to put enough depreciation aside, and the water business fully funds its depreciation as we went through with the cost model that was adopted by council last year, and the price path we are currently on. The question that council needs to ask is that how those funds are then distributed amongst priorities across the entire organisation, and that's a conversation that this board room has the ultimate decision around. So when Water and Waste puts forwards the balance of new upgrade and renewal, those conversations happen not just within the Water and Waste business, but they happen across the entire business. So in answer to your question, is Water and Waste putting enough aside? It is, and that's included in our cost model, and we're pricing towards ensuring that our depreciation component is always covered. However, when it comes to the priorities of council in any 1 year around investment in new and renewals and upgrades across our entire portfolio of assets, then it becomes a broader question for this chamber. Understanding investment in new infrastructure to support growth against the cost of replacing renewal infrastructure is always a constant battle that this chamber has to deal with.
Yeah, thanks, Jake. A very important topic for us to consider around prioritisation continually. Thanks, mate.
Councillor Tim.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, Mary Lou. This year, we're too big of a business to do this for our whole business in 1 year, hence the non-confidential attachment 1 with the 10-year plan. So this year we did our water structures, resulting in a heck of a lot more asset value and 6.2 million in appreciation value, noting that Jake said he funds his own depreciation. Next year, thank you for putting that up, we move to our land, our site improvements and our buildings. And it may be 3 years since, if that's correct, since they've been done. My layman's view of this is that in the last 3 years, land and buildings have probably risen in value significantly. So I just wonder if there's a risk that this report next year you're going to come back to us and have capital or otherwise implications that are quite high in demand.
Thank you, Councillor. Every year we do a revaluation because of the sheer volume of assets. That's what's been deemed to be prudent and to maintain that requirement under the standards for carrying value of the assets at that particular point in time. We also do an indexation process. So you can see the eye there on that matrix. So for the asset classes that are not being revalued in that particular year, we apply indexation. The issue we had a couple of years ago was the indexation is always based on the April quarter, and of course what we were seeing was that continual spiking in rates. So that did create a bit of a change at the 30 June, but that's all the information that we can do to allow that indexation to be applied across asset classes not being valued. We may even need to, we also determine at the time for the asset class that's just been revalued, whether it does need further indexation applied to make sure we're maintaining those values correctly in our statements.
No, that's an excellent answer.
If we have no more questions, I'll propose the motion that the confidential final valuation report in attachment 2 on the 2024-25 asset revaluation and the 25-26 asset revaluation matrix 10-year plan in attachment 1 be noted. Do I have a mover for the motion? Councillor Wiener. Any against? All those in favour? Anyone against? No. I hear it takes 2 years to get this right. May I call on Barley? Gotcha. The guidelines to for the conduct of councillor briefings and workshops.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, councillors. Through you, Chair. So essentially, my report is to table a revised policy because it's up for review. It's in regards to the guidelines for the conduct of councillor briefings, sessions and workshops. The policy has been updated to the current format, but the major change is that we've incorporated the ability for councillors to undertake workshops, which is more informal sessions, to enable progress of certain business matters. And then if there are recommendations in that, obviously they have to go through to a formal council meeting for adoption. So that's primarily the process that the officers have undertaken, is that they've looked at other councils within Queensland to see what their policies look like and what, practices are evolving at councils to enable them to do, workshops with staff and third parties as well, and then bring things into formal discussion and approval. And I can take questions.
Councillor Tim.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, Bailey. Thank you for this. Look, I appreciate that the purpose of this was to add the workshops in, and I also appreciate that this did come for input sometime over the Christmas break, and I remember looking at it thinking, oh, it's fine, but colleagues, I've actually spent a bit of time looking at this, and I don't think as yet this policy is where I would like it to be. This is a policy to look at us and our input, our behaviour in info sessions, workshops, those kind of non-public meetings. So I do have, Chair, through you to Bailey, or happy for Anne-Marie or even the CEO to make comment, a list of changes that I would like my colleagues' endorsement on. None of them terribly onerous, I must say, but I wonder if the best way to do that is, do I have to amend the motion to put all of these things, or is it possible to defer this and then have a sit down and then bring it to the ordinary meeting? Would you like me to do some changes now, or?
If there are changes put forward, one of the possibilities could be is that we could recirculate this and bring it forward to the next ordinary meeting, not next week, and that will enable the councillors to review the changes in markup of this version, and then they can clearly see what we want to incorporate into the document. Not to sort of forecast anything. I think what I'm hearing is that you're comfortable with the workshop processes and the content of the policy, but you just want to have a look at some of the framework and the application to councillors as well. So my suggestion would be to defer the matter. If you could provide the changes, and at your discretion, you can provide them today, but then I could circulate a marked up version to councillors and bring it back at next month's meeting.
Okay, sure. Look, it is up to my colleagues, and it's just that they might not be in favour of them, and rather than debating each one. So just for those who are, I'll just read them out and then we can decide, Chair, if that's all right. But basically the principles of this cover us by our obligations under the Local Government Act and the Human Rights Act, and we're bound by those every day anyway. So if it's just going to be our business is what we already do, I certainly would like to strengthen that. Some of the changes throughout. When it says info sessions, I think it's great what you've done there. There are a few issues I have around it. Says must not be persuasive, but I think that's an ambiguous term, and perhaps up for some debate over that, what that means. When we have info sessions, there's the idea that the officers are the experts and they should be presenting to us and we should be listening. And perhaps guilty is charged, colleagues. I'm not casting any nets here, but I would like that put into the policy, that we're there to actually be informed, not to be giving the information from this chair, those kind of things. Around the workshops, I wonder if there could be some work done around putting it in policy that everyone's voice, everyone's opinion is equal and therefore valued and heard. I really think that's a good way to go moving forward. There's some changes around. We're required to have an open mind, i.e. not come in with predetermined ideas on what something should look like, but rather be heard. And I note that was put in there, but I'd love to wrestle around with what that means. And it is obviously implied in the framework there, but around the idea of respect to staff members and all staff. So I really like to see that put significantly in there. So, colleagues, are you happy for me to put these as an amendment to the motion, or would you like it deferred to debate it and talk it through or workshop it? Chair, through the GEM, are you happy for me to put these changes?
I think we postpone it to the next meeting. If that's all right.
Chair, with your indulgence, I'd happily move the motion that Council resolves to defer this matter until a future Corporate Services Committee meeting in 2025. Happy to move.
Do I have a mover for? Second it. Okay. All those in favour? All those against? Motion moved. No, thank you. Report the Audit Committee meeting of the 27th November 27. Barley Garfield will.
Sorry, Councillor, this report of the Audit Committee on the 27th of November with the recommendation that it be received and the recommendations be adopted.
Do I have any questions? No. Do I have a move? Oh, Jeff. Yeah. Councillor Jeff.
Thanks, Chair. Thank you very much. No, look, no questions. I'm just happy to move it, Chair, that's all, given that I was in attendance to the meeting.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Tim. All those in favour? All those against? Motion carried. We'll be moving on to confidential, so the meeting will be closed to the public. The reasons for closing the closed meeting. Report refers to the appointment of chairperson for the Audit Committee and therefore is recommended that the meeting be closed to the public in accordance with section 254J3F, matters that may directly affect the health and safety of an individual or a group of individuals of Local Government Regulation 2012. I need a mover. Councillor Tim, seconder. Councillor Bill. Anyway. All those in favour? Motion moved. Thank you. I move a motion that council appoints independent external member Peter Swerville as the chairperson of council's audit committee and the remaining committee term. Additionally, council appoints Mitchell Perry as deputy chairperson with appropriate remuneration in instances where acting as chair. However, council may at its absolute discretion appoint any independent external member as chairperson. Do I have a mover for the motion? Councillor Tim.
Move.
Do I have a second for the motion? Councillor Trevor. All those in favour? All those against? Motion carried. It's the conclusion of the meeting. Remind councillors to click off leave meeting in board view. That's it.
Yes. I would like to welcome you to the Economic Development... Oh, are we online? Yes, we're online. Thank you. Like to welcome everyone to the Economic Development Committee meeting of Toowoomba Regional Council. This meeting is open to the public and will also be live streamed. And I'd like to thank those of you who are in the room with us today and acknowledge everyone watching via Council's social media channels. Welcome Jane and Anthony, who will be taking us through the first section. I saw Tani and Hugh up the back there. Jason, Andrew and Ian from the Woolshed, welcome. And Deanne, Alex and Lockie over here, thank you. And Acting CEO, Nick, and our Acting GM here too, Curry. So is this your first Acting GM for economic development? It is. Excellent, welcome. Just checking everyone's logged in to the meeting, which I will do right now as well. Okie doke. So as far as attendance and apologies are concerned, we have, and leaves of absences and declarations of conflict of interest. We have Councillor MacDonald attending via Teams, and he's online, I can see right now. An apology from Councillor Carol Taylor, and we will need a resolution for that. And the motion is that the apology for non-attendance from Councillor Carol Taylor be accepted. I'd like that Councillor Tim McMahon and seconded by Councillor Kerry Shine. Noting a leave of absence for Councillor... Oh, sorry, all those in favour? That's unanimous. Noting a leave of absence for Councillor Von Hoff, no resolution is required. Also, noting a leave of absence for Councillor O'Shea, and no resolution is required. I have no declarations of prescribed or declarable conflicts of interest, but if anything arises, please let me know through this committee meeting. Now, the first item that we're going to discuss, and I'm sorry, I'm just in the wrong meeting, is the outcomes of our sister city visit to Wanganui for opening of the Sargent Gallery, and I'm going to hand over to our author, Jane Morey, please.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, councillors. Today's report is to provide an overview of the outcomes of the council delegation visit to our New Zealand sister city, Wanganui, from the 6th to the 10th of November 2024. The visit was in response to an invitation received from Wanganui Mayor Andrew Tripe to attend the official opening of the redeveloped Sargent Gallery. The delegation has expressed their satisfaction with the visit, highlighting it was an invaluable opportunity to strengthen ties with Wanganui, but also to gain meaningful insights into their very successful arts and cultural sector. Knowledge sharing in best practice, as well as lessons learnt, has been a significant benefit to our relationship with Wanganui. It enhances economic growth, cultural understanding, education, sustainability, governance improvements, innovation and industry development, benefiting both communities. The delegation gained insights into the regional economic benefits of art investment, cultural facility management, innovation, community engagement and cross-sector collections. They also gained insights into the processes, planning, governance, structures, community consultation, funding models and integration of First Nations elements into the design and lessons learnt of the redevelopment of the Sargent Gallery. In addition, an additional outcome was gaining insights into the opportunities of gaining the designation of being a UNESCO City of Design. The delegation's visit to Wanganui highlighted the important role that arts and culture has in community development and economic growth. This visit serves as inspiration for Toowoomba for further enhance its arts and cultural landscape, contributing to regional vibrancy and community wellbeing. However, the value of the visit can only be realised through the application of key learnings. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane. Now, have we got any questions from the floor? Councillor Melissa?
Thank you, Jane. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Jane, for your report. Nothing more to add. I gave my report a couple of months ago because I was lead on this delegation, and I will just reiterate what an outstanding delegation it was. I have attended many delegations over the years in private sector. This is my first with council, but I don't think I've had a more organised ROI on a delegation as what I did on this one. The tangible outcomes and learnings were outstanding. The collaboration between TRC and Wanganui Council was extraordinary. They were very welcoming. What Wanganui has achieved as a town of or city of population of 50,000 are learnings that we can really take on board. They were very open about the mistakes made, but also the outstanding outcomes of what was achieved with the Sargent Gallery. And we came back with significant information, and I know that the relationship will continue further down the track, and they're very keen to come and see what we're doing here. But I know that what we learnt over there will really save us some heartache. And I really believe dollars down the track, because mistakes can be expensive, and we've learned a lot from what they've learned from their journey. So I think it was a very, very valuable delegation. So thank you very much, Jane, for all you did, and the staff here at TRC, but also the staff at Wanganui. So thank you. Oh, and Tani, sorry, where's Tani? Tani came on the delegation and she got us organised and was an extraordinary representative of TRC. So thank you.
Any further questions? Councillor Trevor?
More of a comment, not a question. I was on that delegation too with Councillor Melissa and Councillor Bill. Tani, thank you for your efforts there and keeping us all organised. Routine, bang, bang, bang. I also learnt a lot and totally endorse Councillor Melissa's remarks, even to the point of streetscapes, community art, and parking meters, how they're doing parking meters compared to how we will be or may be doing things like that. So it just wasn't focused on one aspect, it was focused across a whole board of things. And just being there, you do notice different comparisons and you go, oh, well, Toowoomba could introduce that and all those other bits and pieces. So yeah, it was well worth the delegation going over and seeing how a town, because it's not a city yet, it hasn't eclipsed that 50,000, but close to it, how they operate, how they do things, and technically real visionary town. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you for your comments, Councillor Trevor and Councillor Melissa. Do we have any other questions from the floor? Oh, a comment from Councillor Bill?
Just a quick comment. It was the broader topics that aside or in addition to the tour that was I found great benefit, and that how we might embark on a journey around recognition of our region globally as well in the future around a UNESCO framework perhaps. But I also observed some nuances around the organisation and the relationship that staff have and how they conduct themselves very publicly and appropriately within their community. It was something that I just quietly observed. It's the first time I've said it, but it was really a model in my view on how those staff that we interacted were ambassadors, and very obviously ambassadors in their local community without even trying. It wasn't artificial. So it was just good to observe from an organisational point of view, And that was just something on the side that I think was of benefit to observe as a councillor, and how that interaction was there. So, yeah, I concur with the comments. It was really well organised, efficient use of time, and I really think that, from our discussions with staff in downloading from that tour, there's a lot of potential and a lot for us to work toward in the future as a region here. Thanks.
Thank you, Jane, and Tani and team, and then Councillor Melissa, Trevor and Bill for representing us all on what seems like a very successful delegation. Looking forward to seeing all that knowledge that you have gleaned, put into practice here. Oh, and sorry, Councillor Carey, did you have one more comment?
Just a question, if I could, to Jane. Was any information given the delegation as to the running costs of the museum there at, not the museum, the gallery there at Wanganui, what its operating costs were, and any idea as to how costs might have been recuperated with entrance fees or whatever?
Thank you, Kerry Shine. If it's okay, I might refer this question to Tani, who was the officer there receiving the information.
Thanks for the query, through you, Chair. We did get a lot of information about the initial build as part of the delegation as well, so that was of interest to us. So the Sargent Gallery had earthquake funding available, so that was like about 60% of the funding to build. And I think 14% from a trust and 30% from council. They also provided some, and it was actually provided by Jane before we left, about ongoing costs, and I'll just find that in my notes quickly. But they are just estimates, so it'll be interesting, and I've been thinking it would be good for us to touch base with them and actually see how it's tracking as well, and it'd be good to touch base about numbers through the door. So they actually did a cost-benefit evaluation back in 2013, but then they looked at within that, they looked at the benefit of the life of the asset and the net benefit. So what they came up with was, sorry, I'm madly looking at this. So cost to complete at that time, and this has changed. And I'm just comparing it to the figures they gave us that they ended up with. Basically, the benefit over the life of the asset that they came up with was 99.2 million. That's the latest I've got. And they said to us, and offhand, and I don't have that in writing for them, that it's a 110-year-old building at the moment, and they'll get another 100 years out of it post this refurbishment and renovation. So I don't know if that answers your question. That's all I've got on hand at the moment, though.
If I just follow on, I just Googled the running cost of it. And
yes,
it reveals it's $4 million a year.
A year,
and, I'm just wondering, is that paid by the ratepayers or people going to the gallery or?
Yes, it's a mix actually. And because they've only been open now since November, so the initial cost of refurbishing and opening has been borne by the council. They were going to have some commercial arms, so the cafe and things like that, but the council has brought that in-house. So some of those costs might be a bit more elevated than that was listed there, but that's just, I'm not too sure of that. We'd have to check with Wanganui directly. But they are going to have things like travelling exhibitions where they actually, it's a cost to actually go in. My understanding is they're not charging for entry at the moment. So, yeah, it'd be good for us to loop back potentially.
Through the chair, good morning, councillors. Absolutely, we will remain in contact and be working with them over there to understand what those operational costs are and how they're funding that. They've been very forthcoming both on the delegation, but they've also publicly put a lot of information on their website in the lead up to this as well. So I have every expectation that they'll be very keen to work with us on and sharing that type of information. They've already, Jane and I reached out to the council to talk about the UNESCO design accreditation. They're very forthcoming with that and letting us know what was involved in the resourcing requirement. So there's good examples of that information sharing.
Thank you, Anthony and Tani. Councillor Melissa?
Thanks, Chair. To your question, Councillor Shine, the information they also gave us was about the structure of the gallery and the fundraising to build it, but also the ongoing, and they actually have a trust structure as part of that, and the trust has several million still in the bank account that will be used for ongoing operations but more so education and purchase of what do you call it? Purchase of
It's endowment for artworks there.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, purchase of artworks, etc. So, the trust is very integral to that ongoing operation of the gallery. So that was a really interesting several conversations about the structure and how they came about that structure and how it worked for the betterment of the community, the council, and the gallery ultimately.
Thank you. Councillor Bill?
I think the important thing that no doubt we all observed was with the UNESCO Cities of Design label as an international gallery was critically important. It enlivened not just Wanganui itself, but the whole region around Arts Trail and international tourism. Very, very active. So I think it's important that we think about size and scale when we go to embark on this journey here around the status of our gallery and what does it cater for and what does that look like in attracting both national and potentially international tourism, because it's very much on the cards and it's another a piece that adds to the region here, particularly around Carnival and those sorts of things as well. So I think it's really, it's a good example of how we might leverage often investment into infrastructure, just when you look at it from a cold hard dollars and cents. But what return does that give us in tourism dollars and visitation and economic development commensurate with the size and scale or the profile of what the arts community is like here. And we already have an established recognised arts community, and just imagine what that could be in the future. And so that all then goes towards buoying our economy and supporting, whilst it's an operational cost, there are other benefits. Yeah, I think that's something for us to be mindful of as we step forward into the journey of building a new art gallery.
Thank you, Councillor Bill, and I agree with you there. You know, we've been talking this morning about the Carnival of Flowers being our pinnacle event of the year, but having something else like this that can reduce our reliance on one event and spread tourism across the year and be known not only for our gardens but also our art and culture is something quite exciting. So thank you, team. And now I would like to move a motion. Or Councillor Trevor, did you have one more?
Just following on with Councillor Bill and Councillor Melissa, I was quite taken aback by the community over there, how many galleries, workshops across their region, and they've got a website where you can go on to and you can have a day trip, you can have a week trip. Like we have our arts trails. We could have a yearly art trail, really, if we done a concept like what they've got, and highlight all the little galleries, whether they be on property or a gallery, and we've got them sprinkled across all our region, from Millmerran to Yarraman to Oakey, Pittsworth, Clifton. They've all got their little art groups. We could certainly do something like what they've got as a plan, and we don't have to wait 5 years, 10 years till the art gallery's there. We can do it now and get it all happening. And luckily, we've got our arts trails started up. We've got the Highfields one, we've got the Toowoomba one at Carnival, but we could do them during the year and just get the artists involved, no matter what they're doing, whether it be pottery, art, sculpture, whatever. So just another comment. Like, that was eye-opening to me, how it's an art area. And we've got it here now, and we can certainly expand on it, because there's certainly artists at home who are tinkering away, think their art's no good, but the general population, it could be another Blue Poles or Mona Lisa, so to speak.
Thanks, Councillor Trevor, and I think Anthony's got a comment there for you.
Look, I think, through the chair, I think that, I totally agree. I think that we've got the Regional Economic Development Grant open now this month, and and what we'll take on board with that is flagging with the progress associations and chambers in our townships to talk to their art communities to see what can be done around potentially a project or a string of projects that look at, and this I think is, this type of thing is the precursor to paving the way for our own more developed strategy in line with a potential art museum in the future, sort of thing. So small steps by the community. So.
Great. Now, if I will like to move the motion that 1, Council note the report on the Toowoomba Regional Council delegation visit to Wanganui, New Zealand from 6 to 10 November 2024. 2, the key learnings from Wanganui's art and cultural sector be factored into the economic development and tourism and events strategies. And 3, the key learnings from the Wanganui delegation visit be considered in the business case that is in train to assess options, costs and benefits of delivering a revitalised art museum to replace or update the existing TRAG. I've got that moved by Councillor Melissa, seconded by Councillor Trevor. All those in favour? That's unanimous. I'm assuming you're in favour, Mayor McDonald? Yes. Excellent.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, team. Now we'll move to item number 4 on the agenda, which is request for sponsorship of the 19th National Historical Machinery Association National Rally and Steaming Under the Southern Cross 2025. Welcome up the team. Andrew and Ian from the John Dairy and Woolshed, thank you and welcome. And we'll get Acting GM Paul into the hot seat. Excellent, thank you, Paul. And now I'll hand over to our author, Andrew Nichols, to give us an introduction. Thanks.
Thank you, Chair. So with me, I've got Ian Jemson, who's the Operations Manager for the John Dairy and Woolshed, and my substantive role is the Principal Property Operations, who lead the teams that deliver the facility management for the built environment for Council. This report, as outlined in the sponsorship policy, requires Council approval for requests over $10,000. And essentially the purpose of the support is for consideration for those, an agreed level of financial support for sponsorship agreement for the National Historical Machinery Association National Rally. I probably will take the report as read, and I'm happy to answer any questions if that's right, Chair.
Oh, sorry, wrong button. Do we have any questions from the floor, team? Councillor Tim.
Thank you. Good morning, Andrew, team, Ian. I need to repent that I read the title and then I read the background and I severely underestimated how big this event was, and now realise it's a significant event, 20 to 30,000 people. It's a significant undertaking, so well done for attracting potentially that kind of investment visitor to our region. I think that's a really good That's going to put us on the map. That's great for John Dairy and Walshed. That's great for Toowoomba region. Well done. My question is actually around the second part of the recommendation, where we enter into a profit share agreement whereby an amount up to or equal to the sum of council's $40,000 financial support is returned dollar for dollar and reinvested into the Friends of John Dairy. So we're going to give 40 grand, we're going to get it back, but we're going to reinvest it into Friends of John Dairy. Don't have an issue with that. But is that kind of profit share where we get the money back and then give it to a Friends of or other body? Has that ever been done before? And the reasoning why this time?
So through you, Chair, I'll unpack that a little bit. So the National Historical Machinery Association Rally, which is a every 2-year event, they've selected John Dairy and Walshed as the principal place for this event to be run. It's actually being offered by a group called SUSI, which is the Stemming Under the Southern Cross Incorporated, which is three local groups in Toowoomba region.
Acronym?
It's a SUSCI.
SUSI.
Yeah, look, I've abbreviated that. That may not be the correct term, but Stemming Under the Southern Cross Incorporated, which is 3 local groups combining efforts to bring this large rally to the John Dairy and Walshed, which is historically probably just a weekend, but it's been extended over a 9-day event program. So quite a large undertaking, as you've rightly pointed out, Councillor Tim. Now, the reason for this, I'm not entirely sure whether these arrangements have occurred in the past, and I probably would throw to Acting GM Paul or even Eddie Briffer on this one here. But there are certain considerations for this might be beneficial for council, considering that John Dairy and Walshed is it's a very old site, and there is certainly a lot of work involved in bringing a large-scale event to this arena on this scale. And noting that council have made a commitment to bring the John Dairy and Walshed up to a high-level tourism precinct, these events are something which is very, very aligned with council strategy for this site. And the Friends of the John Dairy and Walshed, it's a relatively small group, but they do a lot of work, a lot of volunteering work to bring this space up to a very good standard that attracts a lot of the people in the region and as well as interstate to the site. And what I'll do is I'll throw to Acting GM Paul about the arrangements for this profit sharing first of all.
Thanks, Andrew. To directly answer your question, I'm not aware that there is precedent in relation to a profit share type model associated with sponsorship. Some of the consideration of the assessment panel was in relation to the financial forecast of this group and what they are anticipating to achieve as a result of running this event. So they are generating or forecasting a surplus. Part of their request around sponsorship is partly to do with timing of cash flow. What they're requesting funds for is in relation to transportation of specific equipment, which would need to occur prior to the generation of revenue that they would receive. So it's partly a timing issue. I'm not aware that there's precedent in relation to profit share, but what's being proposed in here I think is quite sound in terms of reinvesting back in the same industry.
No, thanks for that, Paul. It was an arrangement I hadn't seen before, so worth questioning. But if I could have a follow-up, Chair, please, the $40,000 isn't all of the sponsorship. It says that we're going to give up to $300,000 of in-kind support, which is our staff members working. And again, I don't have significant issues with the idea that that happens. There's 20 to 30,000 people, all of them got to get in, get out, go to the toilet, have something to eat and be safe. Are there any plans with that? Some of the buildings at John Dairy and Walshed, I know we're up to a working stage, but there's a significant amount of older buildings, some of which are still closed off to the public. Is any of that $300,000 in-kind support going to be used to restore some of those older buildings permanently, which is, I would say, in line with the longer-term strategic objectives of the site?
Through you, Chair, the answer is yes, definitely. Council has already committed to a capital works program for that site, and we had highlighted and committed funds, and I don't have the exact funds off the top of my head, but in the order of approximately $60,000 to $80,000 of capital funds that will be leading towards the improvement of the site, which will support an event like this. I will say that that work was already committed, but it's essentially being timed appropriately so that it can align with the event running successfully in August 2025. The additional support, which is essentially the background operating costs to support the event, will be recuperated through the camp bookings when they start to be received by the incorporation.
Thank you, which is lucky. We've got it's 6 months old now, but new camp kitchen ready to go for the busloads. Look, I appreciate this is a very large event, and $40,000 is actually only 16% of the budget to give colleagues the size of the scale. So I don't have any further questions or significant issues otherwise. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Any other questions? Councillor Trevor?
Just with the multitude of people you're going to have over there probably for 9 days, but obviously you're going to have them prior to that, people coming in, camping site people, and probably after. Are you catering for all the people on site, or have you got bookings at motels, hotels already booked up, Oakey, in the region, wherever?
I might throw this one to Ian in a second, but through you, Chair, Councillor Trevor, the group that put this on have identified that John Dairy and Woolshed is an excellent venue because it hosts or has the capacity to host large-scale populations to bring in. Over the 9 days, they're expecting large crowds. We have identified accommodation in the Toowoomba region that they can utilise, and I would have no doubt that those accommodation facilities will be booked up during that period, absolutely. But what we're able to do is Ian is able to work with this group to essentially expand our offerings temporarily for that time, which will enable us to handle that influx of bookings that we're going to be getting over that 9-day time. Ian, is there anything else you wanted to add to that?
Yes, through you, Chair. Councillor Trevor, so in terms of venues and so forth, their website is quite good, and it's promoting across the region what's available, but it's also promoting our facility. So we will be expanding the caravan park temporarily to accommodate an overflow. So we're looking at probably around 500 exhibitors camping on the site, and then probably I'm making allowance for another 150 campsites for the public. So at its peak, we've probably got 1,000 people overnight on the site. We'll be bringing in food vendors. Council will be part of the agreement we have with the operator of the event is the council will be looking after the food vendor side, so we'll be getting some income from vendor fees. We'll be doing, I guess, a certain amount of, there'll be food provisions on site for visitors during the day and then for those people staying overnight. But we'll also be promoting that the opportunities for them in Oakey, Dalby, etc., for services like that. So.
Thank you. That's quite a good wrap-up and valuable information.
Thank you, Trevor, for that question. Councillor Tim?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just another question. I note that we have a sponsorship policy, and we have I know you don't like the word bucket, but a sponsorship bucket where the sponsorships come from, and it's already full. It's already exhausted. So I think 36 or something of this $40,000 has got to come from somewhere else. That is a risk, and as identified in the risk management of the report. But are there underspent grants, or are we going around 2 fairly soon, I would propose? Can you just talk me through how that's planning to add up?
Through you, Chair, thanks for the question. You are correct, Councillor Tim. If Council was to approve the full value of this request at $40,000, it would mean that we would be oversubscribed by about $35,000 in the sponsorship program. That also assumes that the other annual reoccurring type sponsorships, and they're listed in the financial and resource implications sections of the report, that also assumes that those applications would come through and Council would look on those applications favourably also. The report does discuss or bring to the attention of council that it would be oversubscribed by $35,000, and there may be an opportunity to fund that through holding back some funds as part of round 2 competitive grants process, which is currently out being advertised at present. So it hasn't closed yet. I'm led to believe the funding pool available for round 2, excluding the consideration of this $35,000, is in the order of about $190,000.
Okay, so thanks for that, making me feel a little better, noting that we do get grants in the order of about 35 that come in from time to time. But so we'd put it down to what 135 less than that to the community.
Yes, in short, if that was council's appetite, we could hold back an equivalent amount, $35,000, that would be oversubscribed from round 2 funding sources for the competitive program.
Right, so you're not yet in a position to know that the grants that are coming in round 2, if they're towards that number, or what's being asked for in them, because it's not finished opening yet, not closed.
That's correct, yeah. The
Sure.
advertising period, as I understand it, is still open. We're not aware of whether we're going to be oversubscribed for those competitive grants or not. It really depends on the volume and quantum of applications coming through. So
Look, we usually are, though, aren't we, for the financial year? We usually, second round, only have a limited amount and not everyone gets. So
that's correct. So if it is oversubscribed in the competitive grants process, round 2, then there would need to be a prioritisation of what can be afforded or fitted within our funding constraints. It's just, is that funding constraint 190, or is it 190 less the 35 to go towards sponsorship?
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you. Any further questions? No. I just get a note that Councillor Trevor, Councillor Shine, the Mayor and I went to the launch of this event, and yeah, none of us realised the size and scale of what it would be with the 40 to 50,000 people. And from talking to the team out at the Woolshed, you know, the volume that they were looking at coming through the campsite, but with caravans and then the food trucks and all the visitations to the local towns, I think, yeah, it has a lot of thought has been put into it. So being an event that's held biannually, and this is only the 3rd time in 40 years it's actually been held in Queensland, so it's a bit of a coup, I think, for our team to get this event in our region. So with that said, I'm going to move a motion, but I'm just wondering if we change the words from council consider the sponsorship to council approve. Yes, if I can hand that to CEO Nick, please.
Just comment, the officers have not made a recommendation regarding approval or not, council. We've just asked you to consider it. It's at your discretion, noting all the benefits of the event, but also the financial challenges with council's budget. It's at your discretion whether there's support there to approve or not. So our recommendation is consider. We need to change that word to either approves or does not approve sponsorship.
Councillor Tim.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I appreciate there are risks with this outlined in the report, but I'd like to see us make this happen. And look, we have a bucket of money, there's the word bucket again, used for events and grants into the community and for this purpose. And it'll be an officer's level to rearrange some things there, but I think we have the money in council's budget for sponsorship of events like this. And I reiterate, I'd like to see it happen, so I'm happy to move the recommendation. Chair, if you're likely to change the word consider to approve, I have no issues there.
Thank you, Tim. And just secondly, before we go any further, Paul would just like confirmation.
Yeah, I guess I'm just chasing some confirmation from council as part of considering this application, whether it is your desire for us to hold back the $35,000 of oversubscription in sponsorships from the grants program in round 2.
Yeah, I was aware of that when I posed it, Paul, so happy for your team to do what needs to happen.
Councillor Trevor.
I'd be happy to second that motion, but a question for your event, God forbid it gets rained out, have you got insurance to cover that?
Through you, Chair. Yes, Councillor Trevor, I have been advised by the event organisers that they are arranging insurance for that possibility. The reason why they've gone for the August date is this is what they're telling me, I'm new to the region, that it's a low rainfall, so it's minimal risk. But I haven't seen that insurance policy in writing. However, I believe they were pursuing it.
If they've run the events before, surely they've done that prior, but just for clarification, thank you so much. But I'm happy to second that motion.
Thank
Councillor
you,
Brunner.
Councillor Trevor. And just to lead on from the timing of the event, it is just before the Carnival of Flowers, so it will bring people to town. That's a couple of weeks before, in the lead up to Carnival. It's we're looking at August. 23rd to the 31st of August, and then Carnival starts, that second week of September. So it won't overlap, but it'll be a nice lead into. So on that note, I've got Councillor Tim leading the nomination, and then seconded by Councillor Trevor. All those or do we need to go into debate? No? All those in favour? That's unanimous, I believe. And Councillor McDonald, can you raise your hand? Oh, you got a hand up too. So that's unanimous. Thank you. Thank you, team. Well done. Sorry. Now I'd like to move to the final item, number 5, which is closing of the, yes, closing of the meeting, or concluding the meeting, sorry. Thank you. Did I read out all that? No, we've done that one. Okay. Yes, so I'd like to conclude this meeting at 11:25. Thank you very much.